Alright, welcome back to the RootBSD Technology channel. Today, we are going to go through well, not the entire, but we're going to start a series where we're going to go through the entire frequently asked questions on the OpenBSD website. And I'm going to do this in the Lynx graphical frame buffer browser, which would be this one. Oh, no, that's my... let's turn up the music a little bit. There we go. Right there. No, that's a little too loud. I think that's good. Aha. That one. Okay. So this is the Lynx graphical frame buffer browser. You can download this by typing... Here, let me show you. Package, add. Package, add, Lynx plus. Okay. I'm still learning how to use the screen key program. Hold on. Package, add, do as, package, add, Lynx plus. That's how you get this program right here. If you go to my my dotfile repository, I have the configuration to make it look like this. What you do need though is you need the input mono font. I'll show you where you can get that. So real quick, I'm just going to go over some little bit of news and some quick preliminary stuff, and then we're going to dive right into the OpenBSD frequently asked questions. Introduction to OpenBSD, this one right here. Okay? Now if we go to... Also, I wanted to show you... Here, let me turn this off. I wanted to show you I have a new start page. I got it off of GitHub. You can find it on GitHub by looking up Hajime, H-A-G-I-M-E, start page, GitHub. That's how you can find it. Oh, my bad. I set up some new key bindings, and I'm still kind of getting the hang of them. By the way, that mixer thing you saw that looks like also mixer, that's called C mixer. It's imports. But yeah, I hope you guys like my start page. Also, due to some issues with Notabug being offline for 4 days, or my repo, I couldn't access it for 4 days. They said it was a denial of service attack. I don't know, but I kind of really needed my dotfile repo to be usable and accessible to me, so I migrated everything to GitLab. So I'm on GitLab now, and there's a link in the description. And my OpenBSD configs are updated, and my desktop configs are updated too. It's a little bit bigger now because I included my entire wallpaper collection. So if you guys need some cool wallpapers, just pick and choose what you like out of there. It's kind of a little mix of everything from weeb to nature to architecture, so and artwork. So definitely check that out. And yeah, and if you go into home.lynx, this is my Lynx graphical frame buffer configuration. And also, let's see here. If you want the same font, just look up programming fonts, GitHub. This would be the one right here, and I'll put a link in the description. The font that I'm using is called Input. So this is the input font. I'm using, I believe it's Input Regular. Let me see here. Ah, here we go. Fonts. Yeah, I'm using input serif narrow for regular font. Oh, for bold font. Okay. Well, you'll see in the let's see right here. you'll see in the links.config the fonts that I'm using. There we go. Font input serif narrow regular, input serif narrow black for bold, and input mono condensed bold for monospace. So it's all in my config. And also just remember, if you want to use my links graphical config, you got to change the name of your user in the home directory, or it's not going to work properly. Okay. And also, I forked Starfish Window Manager, otherwise known as Storefez. I don't know, Upstream is kind of changing it up a little bit, and I don't know what's going on, but my configs were broken and everything was crashing. So this is just a freeze of like a month ago of where the code was at, and I'm learning C programming, so I think this would be a cool project for me to kind of hack on and play around with. So if you want to try my Starfish fork, I haven't made any changes to it. It's just basically a kind of a fork of what it was, and I think JCS might be really kind of switching it up and taking it in a different direction. So if you want to use it, just git clone it, and the command to compile it would be do as make install. Or in Linux, just do sudo make install. Easy money. And then it would just be a storefez in your xinit rc or your .x session. Yeah. Okay. And the music you're listening to is lo-fi hip hop, copyright free, by Lo-Fi Geek, and I'll have links in the description. And also, this is my friend, Nice Micro. He has a YouTube channel that we're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. Really nice guy. He's a scientist. I think he's a chemist. And I think he teaches in university in Korea. But he's really smart about Arch Linux and has all these really cool Arch Linux tutorial videos. And he also is a fantastic XCOM player. The guy is an XCOM pro. So check him out, watch him play XCOM and murder aliens, and he also gets into keyboard layout with non-English Latin. He has Nice Micro Mondays where he talks about the importance of free software, and he's a really nice guy and he's really smart. So definitely check out Nice Micro and subscribe to him because he's a friend of the channel. And also, I just wanted a little bit of OpenBSD news. I found this article where somebody got OpenBSD working on a RISC-V board. This is the HiFive Unmatched. Really neat setup. I'm really jealous of that keyboard. I saw a keyboard like this at the thrift store, and I really want one really bad. But the one I saw at the thrift store was all beat up and it needed restoration. But this one's in really nice shape. So yeah, the guy he has 4 cores. It supports an AMD Radeon R9 270, 16 gigabytes of RAM. I mean, that's pretty fantastic for a system on chip board that's running RISC-V. Definitely, I'll have a link to this article in the description. I looked up these boards. They're completely out of stock, and they're backlogged all the way to like next year, like this time next year. So, good luck getting your hands on one of them. I'm going to wait a couple of years, but I think eventually I want to abandon the x86 64 architecture and just go full RISC-V or ARM 64. So, definitely neat stuff. Alright, with that out of the way, let's get to the task at hand. Alright, the OpenBSD Frequently Asked Questions. Introduction to OpenBSD. The OpenBSD project produces a freely available multi-platform 4.4 based Unix-like operating system. Our goals place emphasis on correctness, security, standardization, and portability. Why might I want to use it? Some reasons why we think OpenBSD is a useful operating system. OpenBSD runs on many different hardware platforms. OpenBSD is thought of as the most secure Unix-like operating system by many security professionals as a result of the never-ending comprehensive source code audit. Yes, they do audit all their source code in base, and they are continually auditing the source code in base. And I believe Ted Uinks said, a typical day of auditing is he just opens up a terminal, goes into the source tree, opens up VI and just starts browsing, and they just start looking for bugs, looking for white spaces, looking for code to delete. Really neat stuff. OpenBSD is a full-featured Unix-like, it's not Unix, it's Unix-like operating system available in source and binary form at no charge. It's completely free and open source software. Now, it does use a lot of the BSD and MIT license, but there's also GPL code in base 2, and it's really neat stuff. Let's see, OpenBSD integrates cutting-edge security technology suitable for building firewalls and private network services in a distributed environment. Yes, and you know, I like to stress to people that OpenBSD is a research operating system. It's made by a small team of developers that just happen to be friends. They just happen to write software. They're not trying to be Linux, okay? And I know some people they have a hard time with that. They think that OpenBSD is like stuck in the past. They're not, you know, some of the stuff about the past is really cool. Some of the modern stuff, you know, is kind of like really complicated and just, you know, there are some things you can critique about Linux and systemd about the over complexity and you know, some of the stuff that OpenBSD does is the traditional stuff that the hackers used to do back in the day. You know, the CVS web and the hackathons and the way they just do the mailing lists and stuff like that. That's old school. That's the way Linux used to be. And yeah, and you know, OpenBSD is good for it makes for a good programming environment. It's good for coding. It's good for web development. It's good for building firewalls and DNS servers and routers. And it's good for HTTPD or serving web pages. It's good for stuff like that. Now, for some of the, you know, your guys' exotic Linux usage, like all the virtualization and all the VMs and the Docker stuff, you know, OpenBSD doesn't have any of that stuff. You know, I just think that developers just really aren't interested in a lot of that stuff. And if you need to use that stuff, you know, like I said, the toolbox philosophy, use the right tool for the job. Okay, if you need tools that are not in OpenBSD, then just don't use OpenBSD. It's okay. Nobody's going to trip, you know. But OpenBSD has great security, and it's great for a lot of server usage, and it's good for desktop usage too, especially for coding. And also, you know, I find you can turn it into a nice, comfy system for entertainment, for music, and for learning. And you know, I use it as my daily driver. I have it on the desktop and I have it on the laptop. So I have 2 daily driver machines that I'm running OpenBSD. And I just have Linux on the side just for learning, because I just, you know, I don't want to stay a complete Linux noob. I'd like to learn some Linux things, you know, so I can be knowledgeable and helpful, and maybe it could help out with a future job opportunity or something. Anyways, OpenBSD benefits from a strong ongoing development in many areas, offering opportunities to work with emerging technologies and an international community of developers and end users. That's right, guys. If you're getting into C programming, and I'm getting into C programming, if you're getting into that kind of stuff, and also there's other kinds of programming on OpenBSD too. I know some of the developers are into Rust and Perl and Lua and other things, but there's opportunities to work with emerging technologies and international community developers, and it also could look good on your resume that you commit code to OpenBSD. OpenBSD attempts to minimize the need for customizing and tweaking. For the vast majority of users, OpenBSD just works on their hardware for their application. OpenBSD is secure by default. It's supposed to be ready to go pretty much out of the box. Now, if you use it on desktop, there are some tweaks you can do to enhance performance, get it a little snappier, but the tweaks are minimal. It's like, you know, 30 minutes worth of work, honestly. Is OpenBSD really free? OpenBSD is all about free. I'm sorry. Let me have a swig of coffee. OpenBSD is all free. The binaries are free, the source is free. All parts of OpenBSD have reasonable copyright terms permitting free distribution. And you can check out OpenBSD's copyright policy here. And also, if you want to, you know, open up your web browser and open up the frequently asked questions and go along with me, and you can pause and check out some of these links here. Now, the maintainers of OpenBSD support the project largely from their own pockets. This includes the time spent programming for the project, equipment used to support the many ports. Yes, they need really nice computers to compile all those packages. And for the current for the development branch, those packages are being compiled on a daily basis. And also, OpenBSD source tree and ports. Oh, the packages are ports, sorry. Network resources used to distribute OpenBSD to you, and the time spent answering questions and investigating users' bug reports. The OpenBSD developers are not independently wealthy. It's a small project. They don't have as much corporate sponsorship as Linux does. Linux has millions and millions of dollars behind it. And that's why a lot more hardware works on Linux, and also because of non-disclosure agreements. And even small contributors of time, equipment, and resources make a big difference. Yes, if you want your hardware to be supported on OpenBSD, buy a version of your hardware or something similar and send it to the OpenBSD developers. Now, some things are not portable because the manufacturer just does not provide the hardware documentation for free, or like NVIDIA, or they want you to sign a non-disclosure agreement. So that stuff, there's nothing we can do about that. But if there is a new piece of hardware, send it to the OpenBSD developers. You'd be surprised. Some people were sending the RISC-V boards to the OpenBSD developers, and now we have a RISC-V port. And also thanks to the University of Minnesota for bringing us a RISC-V port. So what's included in the base system? OpenBSD is distributed with a number of third-party software projects, including xdoc.org, LLVM Clang, GCC, Perl, NSD and Unbound, Ncurses, binutils, GDB, and libfido2. The OpenBSD team often patches third-party products, typically to improve the security and the quality of code. That's generally including Pledge and Unveil. If you guys check out my security video, I go over a lot of the security technologies and mitigations that they use. And I know my audio sucks in that video, and I plan on doing a security 2.0 video with better audio, because I've figured out the best way, because I record all this on my Pine phone. What you're hearing right now is literally being recorded on an ARM64 Pine phone running Manjaro KDE Plasma Mobile using the Recorder app. So there, get some nerd cred points for that. Okay. Typically to improve the security or quality of the code. Much homegrown software is also included, including applications that are available as packages. So why isn't Product X included? People often ask why a particular product is or isn't included with OpenBSD. The answer is based on two things: the wishes of the developers and the compatibility with the goals of the product. Licensing is often the biggest problem. We want OpenBSD to remain usable to any person anywhere in the world for any purpose, and that's really cool. So when is the next release? The OpenBSD team makes a new release approximately every 6 months. They're on a 6-month release cycle. And every release, like next release is going to go to 7.1. And then 6 months later it's going to be 7.2. And 6 months later it's going to be 7.3. So you can actually go backwards and see how long they've been releasing OpenBSD for. And more information on the development cycle can be found here. And like I said, guys, follow along so you can pause my video and read these, because if I went through all these, this video would be like 2 hours long. OpenBSD runs on the following platforms. It runs on Alpha, AMD 64, ARM 64, ARM version 7, HPPA, i386, LANDisk, Luna 88K, Mac PowerPC, Octeon, that's in a lot of routers, the PowerPC 64, the RISC-V 64, and the Spark 64. And it used to run on, if you get some older versions, it used to run, I believe, on, I think they're called the VAX servers, the old VAX servers, too. Now, one thing to know is on some of these architectures, not all the packages are available. I think on some of these architectures, like Chrome isn't available. Like we said earlier, I showed you the RISC-V port. It's kind of new. Chrome and Firefox is not building on RISC-V yet. You got to use a WebKit GTK browser like Surf, or what is another one? LuaKit, and or NetSurf, stuff like that. And this program, Links Plus, will work on it. Manual pages. OpenBSD comes with an extensive documentation in the form of man pages. Now, I know on Linux, man pages aren't really like aren't stressed. They're not like a big deal. I know. Shout out to Joshua at DistroTube, he told me that .info files are more important in Linux, but in OpenBSD the man pages are king. It's kind of like it's kind of like that saying that the customer is always right, and then in France they say the customer is king, and in Japan they say the customer is God. Well, in OpenBSD the manual pages are king. Right? There's actually a joke about that. Some lady who was all in Paris was like, "Oh, you know, the customer is king," and the restaurant owner was like, "Yeah, well, you know, this is Paris. We behead our kings." So I wish I could tell a customer that. Anyways, OpenBSD comes with extensive documentation in the form of man pages. Hold on one second. Okay. There we go. Okay. OpenBSD comes with extensive documentation in the form of man pages. They are the authoritative source of information for OpenBSD, and considerable effort is made to ensure they are up-to-date and accurate. Developers making a change to the system are expected to update the man pages along with their change to the system code. So if there's an error in the man page or something is unclear, that is considered a bug. It is expected that users will check the man pages before asking for help. Yeah, before asking for help, guys, please check the man pages. And also, guys, I have no problem answering your questions and helping you out with problems on my YouTube channel. But just remember, I'm not a support channel. I can do my best, but I want you guys to make sure that you're going to check the man pages and do a little bit of homework before you ask me questions, okay? And also, I'm still an amateur when it comes to this stuff. There's much smarter people than me, including the developers. Some of the best place to go sometimes is go on our OpenBSD on Reddit, or go on the Daemon forums, or go on the mailing list. And actually, you can email the developers. They'll answer your questions. Even Theo DeRat answers questions sometimes, especially if the question is a good, technical, valid question. Or if it's a dumb question, he'll just make fun of you. But that's Theo. Everybody knows that he's a little rough around the edges, but he's a good guy. So yeah, definitely check your man pages before asking for help. Okay, the man pages in OpenBSD are amazing, and they are the king. Okay? Here is a list of some useful man pages for new users. You have after boot, things to check after the first complete boot. You have help. Remember I showed you guys in my OpenBSD commands video, the help command. You have higher, which is short for hierarchy. That's the layout of the file systems. The man page actually helps you to better understand the manual system and how it's organized, and those numbers that go. These little numbers right here are an organization system, so all the different man pages are organized into different sections, I believe it's 1 through 8. In fact, let's look at that real quick. So, number 1 is general commands, tools, and utilities. Number 2 is system calls and error numbers. Number 3 is library functions. 3P is the Perl. They have the Perl Programmer's Reference Guide. So if you really want to get into Perl programming, OpenBSD is a great environment for C and Perl, and it's also good for Rust and web development too. You can do it's the perfect coding environment, because all your code, if it builds and runs in OpenBSD, that means that it's properly allocating memory, and it's going to be more secure. Because if your code doesn't build on OpenBSD, it's generally because you're not allocating memory properly, or you're doing something that violates its security policies. 4 is device drivers, 5 is file formats, 6 is games, 7 is miscellaneous information, 8 is system maintenance and operation commands, 9 is kernel internals. Okay? Add user and remove user. Add or remove new users. And also it's good to check out the user mod program. Reboot, halt, and shut down. Stop and restart the system. Syscrash. Apply security and reliability updates. Sys upgrade. Upgrade to the next OpenBSD release or a newer snapshot. Demessage. Redisplay the kernel boot messages. Do as. Run commands as another user. Tmux. The terminal multiplexer. Ifconfig. Configure network interface parameters. Ifconfig is what you use to connect to the network. Now we do have WPA supplicant in ports, But ifconfig and dhclient are really good, and they're very easy to work with. And I just recommend sticking with the base tools when it comes to connecting to your network. You're just going to save yourself a lot of headache. And tmux, I use tmux. It's fantastic. It actually was first developed by an OpenBSD developer. Tmux got its start on OpenBSD before it went to Linux and Apple and everywhere else. And you guys all know Duaz. Duaz is a fantastic program. FTP, this is our version of wget or curl. We have wget and curl imports, but if you don't want to bother with those, FTP will basically do all the same things that those programs will do. The login.conf, format of the login class configuration file. And sendbug. We actually have a program called sendbug that'll make it easier for you to report a bug you found. And they'll want you to reproduce or send the kernel dump. And I think in the future I want to go over a video of how to file a bug report. Even though everything has been working so great for me, I haven't had a kernel panic in a year. So OpenBSD, even the development branch, is very stable. In general, if you know the name of a command or a manual page, you can read it by executing man command. If you don't know the name of the command, or if man command doesn't find the manual page, you can search the manual page database by executing apropros or something, or apropros something, or man-k something. So you can browse the man pages using apropros or man-k, where something is a likely word that might appear in the title of the manual page you're looking for. For example, apropos time zone. And let's check that out right here. Apropos time zone. Okay, let's see if I did that right. Oh, I gotta put a space between time and zone. There you go. And now you have the different man pages that will talk about the time zone. See? It works like that. There we go. The parenthetical numbers indicate the section of the manual in which that page can be found. In some cases, you may find manual pages with identical names living in separate sections of the manual. For example, assume that you want to know the format of the configuration files for the cron daemon. Once you know the section of the manual for the page you want, you would execute a man-n command, where n is the manual section number. So right here, man minus k cron. Okay? There we go. All the different all the different man pages that are talking about cron. Okay. And then man5 cron tab. So this will. So you see right here cron tab 5. So just man5 cron tab. There we go. This is the manual for the cron tab. There we go. Mailing lists. The OpenBSD project maintains several mailing lists that users can subscribe to and follow. I definitely recommend. I'm gonna do a video on the mailing list too. I got a list of videos I'm gonna do. I have the list. I'm set for like 2 years from now of video ideas. So don't worry, guys. There's going to be so much OpenBSD content that's going to be coming out of your ears. So, a mailing list that users can subscribe to and follow. Some of the more popular lists are announcements and security advisories, bugs received via sendbug and discussion about them, miscellaneous, general user. So if you guys have general user questions and answers, the miscellaneous mailing list is the best place to go. This is the most active list, and it should be the default for most questions and discussions. Ports. Discussions of the ports tree. Source changes. Automated mailing of the CVS source tree changes. Every time a developer commits a change to the OpenBSD source, Xenocara, or the www.tree, that's their website. Their website is included in the tree. CVS will send out a copy of the commit message via this list. And text for the deep, C programming, really technical stuff, and where people send diffs. A discussion of technical topics for OpenBSD developers and advanced users. So before posting a question on any mailing list, please check the archives for the most common questions that have been asked repeatedly. While it might be the first time you've encountered the problem or questions, others on the mailing list may have seen the same question several times in the last week and may not appreciate seeing it again. If asking a question possibly related to hardware, always include a full D message. That's very important. And also, when you first install OpenBSD, you can send your D message to OpenBSD so they can see what hardware is working and what's not working. You can find several archives, other guidelines, and more information to the mailing list page. Subscriptions can be easily managed via the web interface. So right here, let's see if we can open it up here. So this is the OpenBSD mailing list server, and you probably would want to load this on Chrome or Firefox. I'm gonna do a video about getting into the mailing list and subscribing and all that stuff. All right, so I think I'm gonna leave. This video is exceeding 30 minutes, and we're gonna just leave this for today. And we're gonna pick up at migrating to OpenBSD. Okay. All right. Well, I hope you guys liked the video. Please press that like button. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed already, and hit that notification bell to get all the notifications, because you'll want to follow along with me for the frequently asked questions, because we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of system administration, installation, configuring X, and even compiling the system from source. So it's going to be really exciting stuff. Well, that's all. I hope you guys enjoyed the content and have a wonderful day, and bye.